Hey guys, so here we are with a new video. This is me and my friend Kevin, and we're going to be doing a Y incision. I will be using a black eyeliner to mark it out. Just kind of ignore the fact that I'm just talking gibberish in the first bit. So mark out your Y incision. Make sure you use something dark, that way you can see it while you paint over with the liquid latex. It is easy. You want to use two-ply paper towel, or toilet paper, whatever you have, whatever's thinnest. And then you're going to stipple on liquid latex. Starting at the bottom, you don't want to do the whole thing at once because the latex will dry in other areas. Stipple it on over the second layer, otherwise you are going to rip it. Make sure your person sits up straight because as you saw, he ripped his a little bit. If you are using a male to do this on, make sure they have shaven if they have chest hair, because you don't want to give them a free waxing. Yeah, my friend is still hating it to this day, and we made this video a couple months, about a month or so ago. Oh, you also want to use some baby powder to help set the liquid latex, and you just want to kind of stipple that on with the latex. I end up using a brush that is completely just old and I don't have any use for it. Don't use a brush you like. As you see, I'm using a little metal spatula to rip off the edge. It gives less tug. Never pull at it until after you've cut it, because if you pull at it, you are not going to be able to have it stay secure longer. So as you can see, I go in with another metal spatula and I'm just patting it down to make sure it stays. You're going to want to kind of try to let it dry in between each layers. Pardon how I look. I know it's people on YouTube can be vicious. All right, we're moving up the Y incision up to the V part. Yes, I know it's crooked, but it really doesn't matter to me because it's just, nobody's going to be perfect when they're making a Y incision on themselves, which is the reason why we made it look as it is. It's supposed to be, somebody gave him a Y incision, but he was awake and freaked out and stitched himself up. And you'll see what I mean by he stitched himself up near the end when I actually sew it up and explain that bit. So just repeat the process up on the top of the Y incision of how the bottom half did, let it dry and adding toilet paper, going back and forth to make sure that it's to a desired thickness. You don't want it too thin, otherwise it's going to be very flimsy. I believe I did about 4 or 5 layers on him on each section before moving on. Pardon me shifting my camera around. I had a tablet that was just kind of sitting on my sink in the bathroom. So pardon everything you see because, like I said, doing it in the bathroom. I am a self-taught makeup artist, so that's why it kind of looks a little crappy and not that good of quality. But it's great practice when you have friends that let you basically guinea pig them essentially. And so we end up just kind of talking a lot about everything in between the drawing times. Sorry if I don't say a whole lot during this voice recording. I've never done a voiceover before and I just kind of want to explain. Also, make sure you have a lot of liquid latex on hand because it will be the best way to do this without having to make a full silicone prosthetic. The thicker you make this, the better off you are at saving it. We actually did this once before, and I still have the original prosthetic, as you'd call it, in the house. As you can see there, I showed my brush, and it is completely ruined. But that is a-okay because it was a brush I was going to throw out. So if you have brushes that are not expensive, that you really don't care about, please use them. Do not use a Morphe brush or anything really expensive because it is going to get ruined and you are never going to see it again. I've ruined many brushes on this with doing my liquid latex. So I think I'm just, trimming the edge and we're just completely talking his wife and my husband and our friend are all chilling out in the background. That's why you keep seeing him look behind him to talk. So that's what we're doing. And if anybody just heard a good boy in the background, that was my friend who was actually in this video talking to his cat. But grabbing supplies, I forgot. That's why you see me rummaging through whatever. So I have grabbed a little metal spatula. I have several of them that I got off of Amazon for about, $7 for a set of 7. So, yeah, I'm trying to watch the video as well as do my first voiceover. So, hopefully things match up. I think there's going to be a couple seconds different because of how I started this, but that's okay. I'm going to end up dropping my camera here in a minute. As you can see, I point out that you can still see the black underneath, and that is exactly what you want. You're not going to see it once you add makeup over it, but it is great to have as a guideline of where to cut when you are ready to cut him open, or she, whatever kind of friend you are using, to just cut them on open and get them ready to stitch up. So I have a pair of hair scissors, which is just the easiest to use, and I poke a little hole right above his navel. You want to give about an inch or so in between where you're cutting and the edges. So I take my little spatula and go into that hole and move it in between the skin as well as in between the latex before cutting it. And that way it goes a lot smoother. The more you can get your utensil in between the latex and the skin, the less it's going to hurt your person when you cut them. Don't actually cut your person, please. I don't want to be held liable for that. But yeah, so I just use hair scissors and metal spatulas to go all the way up. Try not to poke through it as best you can. As you see, I did poke through it there because that is the tip of the Y incision at the V. And that way you are able to cut. You can see my friend's face isn't too happy. It's because it's tugging. And if I'm right, he had more chest hair at this point because we decided to do this out of random. You're going to want to open it up a little bit. Don't go all the way to the outer edge because then it won't stay. You might want to find your angle on getting this down the other side of the Y. Don't cut your person. Don't cut their facial hair if they have it. Just be careful with scissors, kids. And then we're going to get the needle and thread. Please, again, pardon my size. I don't want any hate for this. Alright, so I have a needle and I have actual thread. This is all real. It's all live metal, so please be very careful when doing it. As you can see, my friend's all poking at himself. So you want to open a little bit so it looks kind of like flaps before you go in and stitch it. The looser it is, the better kind of, but you still want to have at least an inch or so gap between the actual inside and the edge. Now carefully go through and start hand stitching it. I'm just doing a very simple stitch. If you hear any talking in the background currently, that is my husband not knowing to be quiet when I'm doing a voiceover. But so as you can see, I'm very carefully just doing a loose stitch all the way up, as well as checking my phone. Pardon that. So yeah, just stitch all the way up very carefully. Don't do it too tight. You don't want it literally all the way closed because in the end you still want to kind of see the inside, which you can paint. I didn't do that for this one. I also didn't cover him in foundation, and that's perfectly okay because you really don't have to. So you're going to just stitch all the way up your person on both sides of the Y incision and make sure that they are safe and you don't pinch them. Just always remember, pay attention to what you're doing. You don't want to hurt your friends. And in the end, you should have a pretty realistic looking Y incision. As you can see, I'm just hand stitching it. What you can choose to do is go from the bottom all the way up one side. If I remember correctly, because this video is almost over, I didn't stitch the other side because I was just kind of showing how it looks before we entirely rip it off of him. So yeah, this is what we end up coming up with. And if you see how he moves, it shows the insides a little. So thank you.